The point that I'm making is that Commissioner Matthews and Commissioner Hoeffel have a responsibility, in my judgment, to come up with a balanced budget. And they assumed this responsibility freely and, in fact, sought out that responsibility exclusive of me. Thus, I believe that as a matter of conscience, Mr. Hoeffel should support Mr. Matthews' call for a tax increase and see us through to pay off to the policies the two of them have pursued and presumably still believe were sound and good policy. Now, in the absence of the governing majority's ability to balance the budget, I propose the following. An immediate moratorium on all capital expenditures for at least 1 year, including all areas loosely known as economic development. A suspension immediately of spending for open space on matters that are not already committed for at least 1 year. The elimination of unnecessary positions within the Commissioner's office that I have consistently opposed. These jobs have cost the county over $2 million in salary and benefits over 4 years. A 10% pay cut for all members of the Commissioner's staff and department heads, not row officers, making more than $75,000 a year. And because of the constitutional prohibition about reducing elected officials' salaries during their term of office, I suggest that the Commissioners have a withholding of their pay in the amount equal to a net 10% pay cut, which money would be accumulated to pay for the nature studies programs or other park operations currently designated for elimination. I further propose, as I have each year since I was Commissioner, the elimination of drug court, which I have consistently opposed as too costly per person and has not treated enough people to justify its more than $2 million over 4 years. I suggest we appoint a 3-member board, one from the governing majority and one from me, and the third member chosen by the other two. The job of this board will be to go through the county job by job, department by department, and recommend ways for economy. I further agree with the position taken by Treasurer Ellis at the pension board and the vote taken thereon that the commissioners appoint a group of people to come up with a plan to address the pension obligations to our employees and how we are going to handle that burgeoning issue. If we do these things, coupled with the cuts that Commissioner Hoeffel continues to advocate, many of which I agree with, and we hold sacrosanct the areas in the courts and public safety that Commissioner Matthews continues to advocate for, again, many of which I agree with. If after these changes that I have proposed, the cuts that Mr. Matthews and Mr. Hoeffel proposed, and recognizing there are core areas like the courts, public safety that can't be cut, then I will support and vote for a tax increase as the only way to begin to correct the financial mess we find ourselves in. If the changes I propose are not substantially implemented, then I cannot support the tax increase. As I have done in the past, I will vote against a budget that contains policies, positions, and programs that I oppose. But I close in saying that my fellow commissioners who took upon themselves the mantle of leadership before we even assumed office together should stand up for the policies they presumably believe in and come together to raise taxes to pay for those policies. Though bitter adversaries during the campaign, my fellow commissioners pledged to govern effectively together with each other when they announced that they were going to form a governing coalition and shut me out. Well, if it is their intent to govern effectively together, here's the chance to prove it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Deal with the real world here and numbers. Challenge made to my mathematics here involved district attorney's expenditures, a 57.6% increase over your year leadership. It was 86.9% increase, not 57%. The 86.9 was for electricity, utilities, and for personnel expenses. And trying to be representative of the true facts here, I have removed all those numbers thereof, and that's why it's 57.6% increase. And the corresponding increase in cases disposed was, in fact, 4.2% over 8 years. As far as the other matters, I can't really address them with a straight face. I've asked since October the 5th, check the videos for ideas. Since that time, I've been met with nothing but silence. And now I have this purging of all these thoughts. Many of them petulant, especially that dealing with drug court, which I will not even honor by discussion. At this time, I'll take a motion for a recess so that the individual commissioners can reassess their positions, and we'll look for a new motion for a budget on return. We'll be back in 15 minutes. Is there a motion?
Before I make that motion, which I will make, it's important to point out, Commissioner Castor, that you have not been excluded from county government or any part of it.
At any time.
The fact that you chose not to get into harness with the governing majority that you didn't like was your decision, not ours. You have not been excluded from any budget deliberation or decisions. You participated in every meeting that I participated in this year regarding the budget and the prior 2 years. I know we have our disagreements, but it is not right for you to misstate the facts here. You have always been free to participate, to suggest, to propose, and to oppose, but you've not been excluded. I would like during our recess if the staff could identify the savings that would be generated by Commissioner Castor's proposals, which, as I understand it, a 10% pay cut for commissioners, a 10% pay cut for department heads, no capital expenditures and no open space expenditures, which of course are on the capital side, no drug court. I think that was it. If you could
Well,
give us
no more
an
economic development, because he exhausted himself this year. He voted for 5 out of 5 economic development prospects. He doesn't want to catch himself again next year doing the same thing. God forbid it's 6 for 6. So he wants to suspend that for a year or 2.
I understand.
Apparently can't
I
control
love
it.
my revisionist history here. Let's
All
recall.
over that already.
I
Is there a
would-
motion?
Yeah, would the staff please come up with the operating fund impact?
Now you
Okay,
see how I'm
motion for
cut out of
recess.
county government and
Yeah,
county
motion for
positions. You
recess.
just have a motion,
Yes.
cut it off
I
the
second the
tape.
motion. All those in favor, give us saying aye. Aye. Recess for 15 minutes. We'll return at 11:16. Budget.
In this resolution, the total expenses are $404,950,000. I think that has to be adjusted to $403,950,000.
Very good. And we'll allude again, a little final time to the idea of the sandpapered items here for 1% as discussed and proposed earlier with the augmentation of the $200,000 on the personnel side, which we're going to change for.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve that amended C or B budget, number 2 budget?
So moved.
Is there a second? I will second. All those opposed? Excuse me, I'm early. Public comment? There being none, all those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. So recorded.